I noticed that when people weren't following directions properly, what he would do is just keep repeating the direction. So he'd be like, go to the other side. There was a little girl who like really didn't understand. He'd be like, something was like, be as far away from Teller as I am. Be as far away from Teller as I am. Be as far. And he would just repeat the instruction. And my guess is that he repeats the instruction to basically stay on the script.
That would make sense. I can do, script memorization. I remember like in high school, I had to like do the whole thing all the way through. And if we changed the order of something, I was just fucked and needed to like fully reset myself.
Exactly. But yeah, he did that a lot. Like he would get to an instruction, people didn't follow it quickly enough or properly enough. He would just keep repeating it until they got it correct. And then the best part of the show, honestly, right, in my opinion, did not involve Penn or Teller. What they did when the show, as the opener of the show, right, they had this group called Pilobolus, right, which is like a dance group. And what they did is they did the old thing where you put up a white sheet and you get behind the sheet and you do silhouettes on the sheet, right? And so it's just you're looking at a white sheet with black, shadows just moving on the sheet. And so you can't see the people, you can't see anything. And it was like you were watching a movie, basically. And using only their bodies, mostly their bodies, and some props, they basically showed you the 50-year career of Penn and Teller as like this sort of montage, no audio. There was a few subtitles or whatever, but, like their career summarized with like human body silhouettes. And it's like, that was incredible. I would have paid to see a Pilobolus show. And I think there are Pilobolus shows you can go see.
Maybe we should go see him. I might go see him.
They have a tour calendar here. Mattituck, New York, not Farmington, Connecticut. No. We'll see. Newark.
How much would it cost to hire them to do
February.
the 20 years of Geek Nights?
Too much because I think they're the real deal. Newark in February.
Well, I learned because the Uranus skywriting made the rounds in Queens, and everyone was talking about it. So I looked up the company that does that, and it costs.
How much is it?
So yeah, that was the first thing I thought. So
that's all I want to know is how much is it.
There's one company that does it for like the whole area, and they're super old school, and they were like, we're the fucking best at skywriting. We do it right. Like we don't F around. Like they're like very serious. The starting price for the minimum skywriting possible is $1,500.
No.
So a few $1,000s to do something like that is like on the table, and yeah, file that away in your back pocket.
Write the word Geek Nights only.
Gabbo.
We don't need to write any other word. We can just write the word Geek Nights. Enough people will see it in the brief time before it blows away that it will be something.
So in the news, one thing. Lately, we've talked about it before, but AI crawlers stealing people's data, ignoring robot texts, and going over the internet is becoming like an accelerating problem.
Already ignored robot text. Ignoring robot text is nothing new. Robot text basically doesn't mean.
I think I've even argued that it's fine to ignore robots' text because that is not actually a contract of any kind. It is a polite request.
There's even people out there who advocate not having one, but it's like, sure. But yeah, robot text is basically just like, at this point, it's just helpful instructions for legitimate search engines.
Yep.
Like, that's the reason to have it, is to be like, hey, Google, it's like, yeah, I know that like this admin login page, I know that robots that text won't prevent people from accessing it.
Yep.
But it's like, at least on major search engines, it won't show up as a result. And that's kind of good, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only reason to have a robot.
You know what that is? That's part of a social contract. However, the problem now, the accelerating problem now is around the fact that these AI jerk-offs are going a little further, and it's not just ignoring robots.txt. It's they are like actively hiding what they're doing and actively trying to exploit websites to get information that is hidden as fast and hard as possible. And they're doing this so aggressively that what I'm going to link to is even Cloudflare is like, this is a problem and we are struggling to keep up with it.
Yeah, I mean, well, the original reason for robots text wasn't because people in the old early web were opposed to robots and scraping. It was actually because people had limited computing resources.
Yeah, my website ran on a potato. Like, you can't do much to me. If 10 people look at my website at the same time, it might not work.
Yeah, so people, it's like, DOS attacks. It's like just too many people visiting your website from Slashdot was like the hug of death, right? And so it was basically like saying, hey, don't hit these pages that are too CPU intensive. Don't hit me that hard. Also, here's some help for you, right? That was
you know what is the equivalent of if you go to someone's house and there's a note over the doorbell that says, please don't ring doorbell, baby is asleep.
Yeah.
Like that. No, there is no universe where ringing that doorbell is the right thing to do unless you were trying to tell them that their house is on fire. So this article is about how it's specifically, they name names, it is Perplexity specifically. And this is a bit of a deep dive where Cloudflare is like, here's how we caught these motherfuckers.
All right.
So you got any news?
Yeah. So, in terms of televisions, we did a show somewhat recently about the different display technologies available. Right? Yep. And basically, other than having your own 70 millimeter projector or IMAX theater or whatever, right? In terms of TVs, panels that you can have in your house, right? The best you could get is micro LED, and micro LED is basically just a shit ton of really tiny LEDs that can each emit their own light in a shit ton of colors, all controlled individually, and you can get one of those for like 6 figures.
Yeah,
right. And because the LEDs can get really bright and they can display all kinds of colors. It's perfect.
We got one of the better Sony OLEDs, and that was it because I'm not willing to spend that much money.
Obviously, yeah. For a normal person, yeah, your OLED is where it's at, and even regular LEDs that have are really close to OLEDs these days, and so it's anyway. Samsung came up with a new display. It's $30K. So still beyond the reach of normal people, but this is the kind of thing that every rich person could have right, in their house, every really truly rich person. And the way it works is really interesting, is that you're combining the sort of regular LCD situation, right, where the light shines through something, but instead of just having white LEDs as backlights that, just are in a grid that you can increase or decrease the brightness of them, what they did is they're actually like, well, what if those backlit LEDs were colored, right? And so you combine the color of the light coming through and the color of the LCD in front of it, and now you can actually get more different colors available, right, than just the colors that the LCD can do.
It's clever.
I don't know if there's any quantum dots in this one like there are in other displays or whatever, but that's actually pretty. And it turns out that that actually, is it as good as the micro LED? No, but it's better than all the other TVs.
Yep.
And it's a lot less money than the micro LED, which isn't truly realistic right now, and that's something. So
yeah, this is kind of the difference between bleeding edge versus leading edge versus all the different categories of consumer technology.
Right. But it's interesting that it's like we have you expect the technologies to come in at the top and fall down in price and increase in quantity and disperse in availability in sort of a straight line, whereas here it's like micro LED was the one that was next in line, and instead something cut in line, right? That was in the end of the line was micro LED, something just cut right in front of it.
Because one trend you can see with a lot of technologies in general is there'll be a main line of primary R&D, like research and development, that generates truly new technology that did not exist before. And usually that is a primary thing that can be used directly for some purpose. But then you'll get this sort of follow-on effect of people who take technology that came out of primary R&D, but maybe isn't the leading, newest edge of that technology, and combine it with other existing technology. If you take the 3 second and third best technologies in the space and combine them together, you might be able to make something that is practically better than the leading edge primary technology in a space.
Maybe. Anyway, really, if I had if I was mega rich, I won a lottery, I would buy one of these.
Yeah. So in a little news, because I think it's cute, this is it's a Gizmodo thing, but it talks about one of the, AI, there are uses of machine learning that are good and useful and good for society.
I mean, there have been the whole time.
There always
right?
have
So
been.
we talked about how, the first time we saw this was when Google used a computer to win at Go.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that, right? we've seen people automatically subtitle things. It's like, are the subtitles perfect? Does it get them wrong and hallucinate just like with everything else? Yeah. But it's like, unless it's a case where you need a human to do it. If no human was going to do it, then that's better than nothing, right? That there are plenty of valid uses, right, of this stuff, and there always have been.
So here's one that is cool because it's the kind of thing, if it was more developed, I would use. Now, this assumes you were wearing Snap's augmented reality glasses, which are not the best technology yet. Like, they work, but they're not great. There's a reason I don't own a pair of these things. But what they've launched is an experimental app that gives you ad block for real in real life. It puts overlays over ads that it detects in your actual real world vision using AI to detect them in the environment. And it's very early experimental, but it appears to work surprisingly well for an earliest gen experiment. And one last little news. I try to limit this to one Hell World news for Geek Nights, but
you're going to have at least one Hell World news for Geek
definitely.
Nights as long as we're in Hell World.
Yep. If you would like to get out of Hell World, well, we're not the ones to ask how to do that because I don't fucking know. If I knew, I would tell you. I got nothing. I'm just...
I know people who claim they know and sound credible that you can go listen to.
Yeah, there's some politicians in our area are pretty good at this. Anyway, I always try to only talk about the most important and most dangerous thing that has happened that you should be aware of, because you should be generally getting news from other sources. And also, again, do not death spiral and just read every bad news and just fall into a pit of despair. But also, don't just close your eyes and ignore that all this is happening. This is a story as of today. Our idiot president has signed an executive order ordering the military to form specialized units that will be armed, that will be used to directly address crime and, quote, public order issues, unquote, in American cities. If that sounds a lot like the SS, because that is exactly what that is. This is the...
It's also technically unconstitutional.
Directly, flagrantly, this is the most dangerous, obviously Hitlerian thing that has happened yet. And this is a world where they already built some concentration camps. So all I'm going to say is you should be aware of this specific thing, and you should make sure that everyone you know is aware of this specific thing. And in terms of what to do about it, I'm not going to speculate. All I'm pointing out is that this is the most Hitler thing that has happened yet in a sea of Hitlers. And this is extremely fucking dangerous. And this happened today, a few hours ago, before we recorded Geek Nights. And in classic terms, but anyway, things of the day. What do you got?
So there are these YouTube channel. And on this YouTube channel called Atoga, they uploaded a bunch of videos a year ago, and they have tens of thousands of subscribers, which is significant, but not that many. And after a year of not uploading, they suddenly uploaded Blahaj Goes to Waffle House, which is basic. It's interesting because it's old memes, right? It's people were going crazy for Blahaj, the IKEA shark, a long time ago, right? And the Waffle House violence jokes, those are old. Those are way old, right? And they combined those two and made this animation, which is very funny and the production value, very well done, just days ago. So I don't know if it just took them that long to make, and so the joke got stale during the time that they were in production. I don't know any information about this group or whoever the person who made these, but they made a good and funny video if you're okay with the joke no longer being timely.
It's cute enough to where I think it's worth watching.
Yeah. And I went to IKEA recently.
Yeah. So, we hike and camp a lot. Less camping recently, just because we have to stay home and take care of our 14-year-old rabbit who's still going like a champ. Mr. Moogie is a little rock star. But one thing I spent a lot of time as a kid as a Cub Scout, and never a Boy Scout because I knew better. But I did learn a lot of like basic survival stuff, and not like prep for the apocalypse in the woods survival nonsense, but more like these are things you can safely eat in the wilderness, even if you are not sure about your ability to identify things. Like case in point, dandelions. I would bet my life I can identify a dandelion in North America and not confuse it with a different plant. Dandelions are really easy to identify, and there isn't anything else that looks and acts like a dandelion. And every part of a dandelion is edible, like perfectly edible, and actually pretty tasty. Like you can cook every part of the dandelion. My thing of the day is a 27-second video that's going to show you a really cool trick that I remember learning as a kid and forgot about until I saw this video. The most delicious part of the dandelion is actually the dandelion seed. But the problem with the dandelion seed is that it is very hard to eat the dandelion seed because if you've seen a dandelion, it turns white and they got all little puffs. You can blow on it and the puffs
flies away.
Yep. So the seed is delicious. The puff that makes the seed fly away, not delicious. Like
you don't say. I don't really feel even if the puff did taste good, the texture of just eating a bunch of fuzz.
Yep.
Generally humans don't eat fuzz. We don't eat like hairs, right?
Yep. That's why
things are not on the menu.
That's why you don't eat you don't eat naturally grown corn dogs if you see them out in the wild. So the trick is collect a bunch of dandelions. Like if you're out in the woods, just collect a bunch of white-headed dandelions. And then once you have like a bunch of them, put them in a pile in like a bowl or something and just light them on fire. They will instantly burn. And what will be left will not only be just a pile of the delicious...
Toasted seeds.
They are toasted dandelion seeds. And let me tell you, that is actually a treat that I really like. And I don't think there's any store you can buy toasted dandelion seeds in. I don't think those are in Fresh Direct. I don't think you're going to find them at Trader Joe's. So if you're ever out in the wilderness...
Did you test this yourself?
As a kid, I've done it many times.
Okay.
Dandelion seeds are delicious. And that is my thing of the day.
Because sometimes you got, TikToks showing that you can do these things, and then another TikTok, someone trying it, and it doesn't work.
I love that genre of, look at this fake-ass TikTok. Let's follow the instructions exactly. Oh, look, it didn't work at all. In fact, it was dangerous.
Yep.
But no, you can eat dandelion seeds, and toasted dandelion seeds are delicious, and this does just work. Dandelion heads are also decent fire starters if you have some paper kindling to go with it. But I digress. In the meta moment, we will be live at PAX West real soon. Like we're flying to Seattle on Thursday.
And there won't be any PAX. There won't be any Geek Nights until after PAX West 2025.
Yep. On Monday at 1 p.m. in the Firebird Theater, we're doing a new talk, Mastering Game Mechanics, Auctions and Bidding. I'm going to pick the time that I'm going to say, at least and we'll see if Scott shows up, will be at the big staircase with all the puffs and like places to seat on it, like with the skylight next to it. You'll if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you show up at PAX, you will see it and you will know what I'm talking about.
If you go into the Summit building, there's an escalator used to get to the top of the Summit building.
Yep.
And the front, the main escalators. And next to those escalators are a big empty wooden staircase area that is also a seating area.
I'm going to post a day and time where I will guarantee if nobody else is there, I will be there. And if you want to talk to me or ask to play a game with me, notice I didn't say you can at least attempt to get me to play a game with you. I will be there during the appointed hours or hour. We'll see how long I set this time for. Otherwise, we're going to be at PAX. It's going to be a pretty good time. If you remember the gig, I posted a breakdown of all the panels that I want to go to. Not that I will necessarily go to all of them, but there's some good stuff at this PAX.
Go to like 2.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to go to the Final Fantasy guys because that is the most
main events. We can just walk right in. It'll be fun.
Exactly. I would wonder if this will be the one the listeners like roll for Scott. So. beyond that, let's see. The GeekNights Book Club book was The Silent Patient. We did a show on it. I have now chosen the GeekNights Book Club selection for the next one.
Let's see what we got.
So I said I wanted to pick a genre and do a similar thing to Scott. Like, what's going on in that genre? So first, I'm going to say that one of the books I'm picking, I don't think Scott has read, and I have not read it. So one of the options is the novel The Running Man.
Oh, by the actual, the one, the movies, the
yes.
Schwarzenegger movies based on.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you, Scott, do you know who wrote The Running Man?
No, not until Google tells me.
Yeah, so Google told you it was written by Richard Backman. However, Richard Backman is a pseudonym that was used by Stephen King. Stephen King wrote The Running Man.
How about that?
So I have chosen 2 Stephen King books because I was a fan of Stephen King when I was a kid, but I have not read any Stephen King since like 1996.
I don't know if I've read any Stephen King.
I suspected you had never read any Stephen King. I mean, you've seen The Shining, but you never read The Shining.
That's true.
So my idea was...
I've seen Pet Sematary. I never read Pet Sematary.
So my idea was, one, The Running Man just feels like a good Geek Nights book, but I have another book too, so we got a choice here. My idea was I'm going to pick an old Stephen King book, like a classic one that I never read, and a new Stephen King book. And
he's still writing. He's really old,
still writing. And that means
how old is he?
Whether or not you like or hate Stephen King, there's got to be something to Stephen King if he is still writing books.
He's mega popular, right?
Yeah. He's like one of my mom's favorite authors. He's actually, when I was a kid, he was one of my favorite authors. Now, I chose not to pick the sequel to The Shining, which I don't think anyone ever made a movie about.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, I know you didn't because so The Shining is not about, the movie, you feel like The Shining is about the dad going crazy. No, The Shining is about how ghosts want to steal The Shining from the kid. And the sequel is the kid growing up, still fighting ghosts. It's called Dr. Sleep, but that's not the one I picked. So the other option, if we don't read The Running Man, written in 1982, but set
Running Man sounds fun and easy, though.
It does. And it was, when it's set, it's very timely. I'm going to read what this is about. The Running Man, quote, "In the year 2025, the world's economy is in shambles, and America has become a totalitarian dystopia."
Yeah.
Or if we want to do a new Stephen King book, the newest one that looked like it would fit, that is not like part of a series with like ties to other Stephen King books, is called The Outsider. And in the fictional city of Flint, Oklahoma, a mutilated corpse is found. Fingerprints and DNA at the crime scene, as well as witness accounts, all clearly indicate that a local sports coach, Terrence Maitland, is definitely the killer. So Detective Ralph Anderson orders an arrest. The guy says he's innocent, but has a watertight alibi. Dozens of people.
So not airtight, just watertight.
Atom tight. So many people have seen and interacted with him on the other side of the country, like at a conference while this murder took place. So the physical evidence says definitely this guy did it, but all other evidence says he did not do it. And it appears that malevolent spirits may be involved.
Oh, okay. It's not, it could be supernatural, but it could also just be a twin.
Now, I feel like
either at the conference or the twin did the murder.
So I feel like you're going to pick The Running Man, and that's the one I wanted you to pick, but I did have to put 2 options out there. So are you picking The Running Man?
You're saying you don't want to read The Outsider?
I'm probably going to read both, but I want to read The Running Man anyway, because I've been thinking about The Running Man a lot for a bunch of reasons just in the last month.
Yeah, I kind of want to read both, actually, because The Outsider doesn't sound bad at all.
Yeah. So, all right. So the next Geek Nights, you're gonna go with my pre-staged "I came before you" decision.
I'm gonna pick The Running Man for only one reason, and that is because
it is shorter.
The Outsider does not yet have a movie that I know of. Does it?
I doubt it. The Outsider was written in 2018.
Right. So I think it'll be a better book club episode to discuss a movie right? And a book combo.
Ooh, yeah. You know what we could do? We can watch The Running Man again because I haven't seen it.
I'm definitely gonna be watching The Running Man.
Oh yeah, and then we'll do a. So we'll do
I've only seen it like 2 times.
So we will do the book club on the Running Man novel, and then we will review the Running Man movie because we never talked about it on Geek Nights, and it looms large in my life. I quote it kind of often. I've seen it
overlap with other things.
It does.
It's got cyberpunk elements, and this, Smash TV obviously was inspired by Running Man. Then you got the Korean TV show called Running Man that's completely unrelated in every way, shape, and form. And you got your connections to your battle royales and your Squid Games and your Hunger Games.
It's basically a perfect storm of like an ideal Geek Nights Book Club book. So I
didn't even know there was a book.
Let alone did you know that it was written by fucking Stephen King?
No, I thought the movie was just its own fucking thing. I thought they just made that movies, to make Arnold be on a violent game show.
I partly picked this because I knew you didn't know that. At least I assumed. And I assumed if you knew that there was a book, you had no idea it was Stephen King who wrote it.
Did not, no.
All right, so let's get into
one thing. I gotta say one more thing though. I gotta say, it's real dangerous if you become some like Stephen King superfan and try to read all the Stephen Kings, because holy fuck, he has written is like Tezuka levels of prolific.
Did you just scroll through his bibliography?
No, I just know that. I mean, everyone knows that.
However many books you think he wrote more. And the thing about his books, they are long usually. Like, long. As someone who has read a bunch of them.
And so, like, it's the same deal I got with, like, Tezuka, where it's like, I just know I'm not going to read all the Tezuka in my life. I have to stick to, like, best of and then just leave it, right? It's like, because that dude, Tezuka was, like, up all night writing. Tezuka's last words, like, to the nurse when he was, like, being taken in the hospital were like, no, let me keep working, please.
Yeah. The listener steps up.
Japanese.
There was a Dr. Sleep movie a few years ago. Stars Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Which, not Alec Guinness.
Yeah.
Unless he plays the part of the ghost.
Right. And another listener steps in and about the book club. Wait, I thought it was supposed to be fiction.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Man, I'm really getting sick of speedrunning every crisis of modernity and every future crisis of cyber modernity simultaneously.
If they start some sort of Hunger Games, Squid Game, Running Man thing in real life.
I feel like if that happens, we have hit the point of, that Venn diagram of on the left, it's the apocalypse is happening, and on the right is I still have to go to work in the middle, like the intersection between the two. I feel like when that happens, you're not going to work anymore.
Right. There will at least be, right? Obviously, I will do everything in my power to make it not exist.
Yeah.
But if it does exist, number one, we can all argue about how immoral it is to watch it or be entertained by it. And two, maybe you could participate in it.
I feel like the real option is we have to find the facility where they're running it and free everybody in like Bastille style.
Sure, but it's like, the thing that if I could just live in a fantasy world, right? I would just live in Tron world and throw disc and ride bike all day. Right?
Oh yeah, because you seek the same thing I seek, flow state.
Right, and the reason I don't do that is because I would just die via disc or bike very quickly. But given the alternative of doing that once and actually dying and not coming back, or not doing it at all, it's like, well, doing it once is better than
Scott, you make a fine argument for why I ski.
This is like I'm going to die anyway, right?
Yeah.
We're living in I'm going to be, in some sort of camp and exterminated. I might as well go out by disc.
So at some point, if you ever watch Andor, which I still think is the literal best thing to come out of Star Wars after the first 3 episodes, like none of that other stuff is good compared to Andor.
Do they have Jedi Running Man?
They have an Imperial work camp where the prisoners discover that it is in fact a death camp, and none of them are ever leaving, and their sentences are all fake. So they simultaneously agree, if we're gonna die anyway, we're going for it. We're gonna escape. It's now or never. Immediately. Like,
one thing in the Star Wars universe when it comes to death camps.
Oh, in the death camp, that is how they built the Death Star. FYI, spoilers.
And prisons in general, right? Is that you can't check the Force at the security checkpoint. Right?
Yep.
So if Jedis, you might take their lightsabers, but if you put Jedis in the prison together, it's going to be a tough time keeping them in.
Because the Force works subtly. The Force, like, guides R2-D2 to, like, quietly make sure this one fucking dumbass kid, like, finds his way out of Tatooine. In the real world,
you can't just go to the prison guard and be like, "He will give me the keys now."
No, in Andor, they go to the prison guard and they beat him to death.
Yeah, okay, good.
All right. So, main bit, let's go. Some context that's really important. We grew up, me and Scott, in a world where video calls were science fiction. Like, that shit was on the Jetsons. Right. We didn't even have cordless phones.
We could transmit video with television. So you could theoretically, and I think, I don't know what the earliest video chat was. I think there were some primitive ones, but it's like you could do 2 simultaneous TV broadcasts, right? And it's like, you got to think, if 2 people were on the live evening news and they just turned on their TVs to watch each other, they could video chat.
Yep.
Right? And if you had 2 TVs, you could watch both of them chat. That was possible,
but
since, like, live television was possible.
But, like, when I was a kid, the idea of a reporter, like a news show, having someone, like, who is not there up here and do an interview, and it was super delayed and it often broke and didn't work really well, like, that was actually kind of amazing when it was happening on TV when I was really young.
Yeah, because to broadcast, someone had to, like, come to a studio somewhere with broadcasting facilities, right? The wired systems that we had, other than actual giant antennas or satellites, telephone lines, did not have the bandwidth or the infrastructure to transmit anything more than, even the voice at the resolution it was the best we could do.
Yep.
Mostly.
So the first time
modems only got it at 56K, and 56K video chat sucks ass.
Yep. And conference calls were done like having a teleconference without video. That was done via the phone network directly. Like, if you wanted to have a conference call, like when I was playing Quake or Doom with people as a kid, I would have a phone, like, held up to my ear that was dialed into a conference line, and the other people I was playing with were also dialed into that conference line. I could connect Doom to another computer over a proto-internet before I could say words to someone over that same internet.
Mm-hmm.
And the first video chat I ever encountered myself in my life was in high school, because a friend of mine who was from a rich family had a very early webcam. I forget what service he used. It was like fucking weird service. And he was like, check out my video chat. And he turns on this fucking weird software. I don't remember what it was called. And he calls into some thing. He's using a modem, but it's a 56K modem. And like 4P resolution video connects him to a stranger on the internet, and the guy says hello, and I am exactly explaining what happened, and this individual then immediately proceeds to point his camera at his own penis, and then my friend goes, "Oh shit," and he disconnects, and then he turns to me and says, "That happens kind of often." And that is my literal first experience with actually using a video chat.
I think it's like, I don't remember like an exact moment that like it came into that, like I used it or encountered it, because it was sort of like, I think
the penis is what made me remember this incident so specifically.
Yeah, but it's like it sort of gradually came in, because it's like you knew it existed, and like there was a way to do it. You had to like get a webcam, and you had to, right, and there were like technologies that like could do it kinda, but you had to have the bandwidth. You had to have someone to chat with who would set it up also, and it became possible, but so difficult to actually pull off that like I didn't actually do it. right? But I knew it was there. So then when I could eventually, when it just became easier, like, you know, when like you had a Skype or a Google Hangout or those sorts of things, it didn't feel like revolutionary. It felt like this has been here. I just wasn't using it, right, until now.
Yep. Like when the Ventrilo servers started appearing, like almost immediately after that, suddenly I was just in voice chat with anyone I was playing a game with all the time, and I didn't think anything of it.
Actually, Flash actually was one of the ways that like you could actually sort of do it easily, right? I think there was like a way you could make like a web page with like a Flash thing in it.
But I guess
and then you could. What
stood out to me when I was younger is even at work. Like when I worked at IBM, where we had like video conferencing was the thing we could just do. No one ever really did it to have a face-to-face conversation or a group conversation like we do with like Zoom and things like that today. We always used it out of band while we were doing something else. Like we didn't need to see the other person. We usually were doing something else together, and the audio was the most important part. And I never really had a desire to like have a video call where I'm looking at someone face to face while I'm talking to them, because it didn't feel like it added much on top of the audio because it still wasn't in person. If I wanted that like video experience, I tended to just try to meet the person in person or just give up and just have a regular old voice chat.
Yeah, I do think that it's like, you know, for a long, long time, decades and decades in the 20th century, like this idea of the video call, right? You know, you could see it in the movies even. It's like it was this aspirational thing. It just felt so obvious, right? And, you know, achievable. And, you know, like it's like, yes, that is the thing. But in reality, how useful is it really, right? It's like you see people using it all the time, but it's like, you know, it's like, okay, I'm communicating with you and I can see your face and there should be some extra context from seeing your face. And that's kind of nice, maybe. But it's like, how much better is it over just the regular phone call where we're only talking? And it's like, and now it's like when you're on a phone talking just with only audio, you could do other things, right? Like I could look at like a book and like read or write something down. And now, but if I'm looking at your face, I can't do anything else at the same, or I can't take notes on what, or, you know, it's like,
and that sort of capture is an important aspect. Like if you want to have a like full attention conversation, the video does help that, especially for people who are not good at giving anything their full attention. But it's not necessary.
That's true.
But it's not necessary.
It turns out that like actually a video call isn't that much better than an audio call in a lot of cases. Now, what is very useful is when you have a call where you can show other things, right? So instead of just seeing the person who's talking's face,
you see the screen where I'm demonstrating the software that we're building, or I'm doing it through a PowerPoint deck.
Some shared document that we're all writing. You know, we have a Google Doc we're all working on together at the same time, but we're also talking to each other at the same time. But yeah, we could call each other on the phone and open a Google Doc separately, but the integration just makes a lot of things easier, right? It's like that share screen button is way more I'll turn video off and I'll put share screen like 90% of the time.
Yep. And to the point that like I do not even think about what software I am using to do this. I just use whatever is most convenient. Discord, Zoom, whatever. Literally don't care. They're all the same. They all work the same. They all provide basically the same experience. All the things any of them do differently are niche edge cases that rarely matter to me. And I do this a lot. I mean, think about my day job. I work out of an office in New York. Most of the senior people I need to talk to, even if they're in New York, are in a different office in New York, not the same physical office as me. The engineers I work with are all in Frankfurt, and my team, like the people who report to me, are in London, and the other team I work with is in Pune and Singapore. So I'm living online all the time anyway, so I do this constantly. I spend most of my workday sitting quietly or in a Zoom call of some kind. But one thing I've really found that stands out the most, like in terms of, we can talk about the technology of it in a second, but I have found that, and I say this because I like remote work and I think remote work is important, but I have found if you have a serious meeting where decisions need to be made, where everyone is in person in the same room with a physical whiteboard, better decisions get made faster and the conversations are more productive. And I don't think we can pretend that that's not true, even if we accept and agree remote work should be prioritized for other reasons. I don't think we should pretend that in-person meetings are not broadly more effective for many kinds of conversations you might have. But
faster, right?
It is.
It's like,
well, also there's the thing I've noticed.
You don't waste time with technological hiccups that people seem to always have, even though this stuff is so easy now.
Oh, even if I work in a place where like we don't have those hiccups, like it does just work. But
and then like you have to, in a video call, it's like only one person can talk at a time. If you're in a room, people can like talk over each other, and actually it's okay.
Yeah, that is actually what bothers me the most. So I have found the best thing is everyone is in the same room. The second best thing is if you have the kind of technology, and I had this when I worked a long time ago at a different company, the like shared conference room where you have two dedicated installed like rooms that have an always on video wall where it's like the two rooms are connected, almost like through a portal. That actually works really well, but that is not technology most people have accessible to them, even if you work at a fancy company. So cast that aside because that's rare. The next best thing is everyone is remote in the same like Zoom or whatever call. And then you have the limitations of a conference call, but everyone has the same experience. I find a meeting where even two people are in the same room, but other people are remote is sort of the worst case scenario of it's almost not worth having the meeting that way. Like it breaks down so profoundly, so reliably that I think it's actually a bad experience. The crosstalk is good. Like you cannot, if anyone who's in the room in person even like starts muttering at each other or having a sidebar conversation at all, that'll derail the conference call and like nobody can talk. Whereas like you said, when you're in person, if we have 5 people having a discussion and Scott and I start like having a muttered side conversation, that's not going to interrupt the main conversation. And that sideband is probably going to end up enhancing the conversation because Scott and I are muttering about, we got to like stop this guy from talking because he's saying something stupid. Like we got to fix this. Let's jump in and tell him why he's stupid. All right, let's go. And I find very few people are capable of having a sideband conversation in a hybrid environment because that requires doing something like messaging someone on your phones instead of just like muttering at them. But if you're all in a Zoom call together, you just chat at them, like you chat in the Zoom chat in parallel, and that works. So hybrid conversation is the point that like in my professional life, I kind of ban them. Like I will not have a meeting if it's hybrid. You're either all in the same room or we are all dialed into some conference technology. We're not going to do a hybrid environment. In terms of the technology itself, I think it is really remarkable how it all kind of just works. And I think what really made that happen was, one, bandwidth is effectively unlimited in the industrialized world for almost anyone.
Bandwidth was a huge limiter, right? Is like we had the ability to encode digital video and audio and transmit it and watch it, but it's like you need the CPU power to do it live, like read the sensor from a digital camera, encode it live, transmit it live, have enough bits to transmit it in real time so that you got 1 frame per right? The frame rate didn't drop or anything. And then the CPU on the other end, which was also encoding, needed to also decode.
Yep.
And you need a CPU that can do both at once, right? In both directions with the audio and the video and keep it synchronized. And it's like, it was just, it's like we knew how to do it. We just didn't have the power, right? And so once the CPUs got faster, once you had more memory and once you had more bandwidth, suddenly the technology we already had that were existing worked better. And then we were able to say, all right, well, now that we have this much power, and we fixed it to make it work as good as it does. But even today, it's like, I go to do a chat and it's like, it actually eats up some CPU to do a video chat because it's like, yeah, the CPU is way fast, but we made the video chats fancier. We increased the resolution and the frame rates and we made them fancier, and now it uses more power.
And that's something I found in general. That is why video chats are just better for people who have a real GPU in their computer, but most people in corporate environments do not have real GPUs in their computers.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are like, oh shit, my computer is lagging. I need to turn off the video. You know, it's like, yeah, no one's looking at your face anyway. It's weird, right? This dynamic of like go into a chat. Most people have their video on. Some people don't, and it's like you don't have to. We're not going to make you.
A lot of companies force people to now for a bunch of reasons.
Okay, bars doesn't. Anyway,
yeah, I've seen that around in the broader world.
But you know, some people have it on. Most people have it on. Some don't. Yep. And then it's like I'm not actually looking at anyone's faces. But it's like, I turn mine on because most people are, and I assume someone wants to see me, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't hurt to turn, I'm not, unless I got some reason to turn it off. I'll turn it off like momentarily, like if I get up or if I'm doing something. I don't want,
I'm cramming a bunch of food into my face.
Yeah, something like that. But it's like, but is anyone looking at me? How much energy have I wasted and will be wasting encoding and transmitting my face? And no one's looking at it because none of us. It's like if I'm not looking at the faces, is anyone looking at the faces?
Yeah, no, everyone's looking at the Jira board or the PowerPoint that you've got up on the screen anyway.
Like if nobody's looking at the faces, we should just all have them off and stop wasting the electricity.
Yep. Or if it's like presentations or things like that, and there's no slide deck to look at, just have one person the person who is presenting is on screen like you're watching a panel or a lecture. And everybody else is not because they're the audience. Nobody wants to see the audience while they're watching us give a talk at PAX. But
there is a case, right, where, you know, looking at the face of the person you're talking to, whatever, right? There are cases, though, where you want to use the camera you have to show something, right? Not the screen sharing with a computer, but to show something else that is not you, right? So I'm on the beach and it's like, let me show you the beach I'm at, woo, right? But also extremely useful reason for video chat. Call the doctor. Let me show you the rash on my arm, doctor.
Oh, when I got that eye infection where I couldn't do Geek Nights for a couple weeks way back, yeah, I had a video chat where I was holding a webcam up to my eye, and the doctor's like, "Wow, okay, yes, you should go to the ER. Like,
right? It's like
hang up and go to an actual hospital." And I was glad I had that opportunity.
Yeah, if you have some sort of object you want to show to someone, right? You could just take photos and send them the photos, but it's like, you know, a video where you're chatting with them and you're show and tell, or you're at a place or anything like that. Suddenly, the video chat makes a whole lot of sense and is super useful. But if you're just only talking, I don't.
Yeah, well, especially because think about the era of telephones, like. I used to talk on the phone a lot before there was an internet because there really weren't other remote communication means that were real time. Like calling someone on the phone was the highest fidelity information transfer mechanism you had. So I talk on the phone a lot. Now I kind of don't because I got other ways to do things. But very few people would start a phone call, especially a casual social one, and like stare at a blank wall or close their eyes and 100% just focus on the phone call. Usually you had the phone on your shoulder and you're doing something else at the same time. And that was part of the social contract. And adding video to that mix basically prevents people from following the original social contract of the phone that I might be cooking dinner while I'm talking to you. So in some ways, it was a step back for how people actually used phones.
Yep. So I think the biggest technological problem with video chat that still exists today is that there isn't really a standard platform. We still have separate platforms that don't talk to each other, right? So, you know, for one, a crazy business people know WebEx, right, is like the...
Oh my God. I had a day a few weeks ago at work where, because I had to talk to some people who don't work for our company, in the same day, I had to have a Zoom meeting, 2 WebEx meetings, some proprietary Amazon thing meeting.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you have to force everyone, you know, with telephones, it was just telephone. Everyone uses telephones, right? But once it's video chat, it's like, okay, everyone use Google Hangout. Shit, someone doesn't have Google. All right, well, I guess we use Zoom. I don't want to install Zoom. Shit. This weird bureaucratic company uses WebEx for archaic reasons. I guess we have to figure out how to make that work. It'll take 20 minutes. It's like, they work at company X and they're going to force us to use their thing, right?
Yep. And company X forces me to use their thing, but company Y, the company I work for, blocks their thing.
And we force our policy is everyone uses our thing.
I have...
which one are we going to use for this meeting?
I have many, 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 many times in my life across 3 different companies run into the situation of neither company's IT policy allows them to use the other company's video conference, so we just have a fucking phone call with a conference line because that was literally the only thing we could both use.
Yeah, I want everyone to go back and watch the announcement of FaceTime, Apple's FaceTime, by Steve Jobs, who was still alive at the time. You can go watch the keynote. It's still out there somewhere. You can watch it. And he says that FaceTime is going to be like an open protocol, and they're going to let everyone use it, which theoretically meant that people would be able to code their own FaceTime clients for all platforms, and it was secure and whatever. And you know what? As protocol-wise, performance-wise, whatever, FaceTime is good. They lied. They never did that. If you want to FaceTime, you need an Apple device. Yep. That is the only device that you can FaceTime with, and you can only FaceTime using Apple software. You cannot write your own FaceTime client for Windows, FaceTime client for DOS, FaceTime client for Nintendo Switch. You can't do it, even though that was promised by Steve Jobs.
Yep.
They lied. They didn't do it. And if they had done it, maybe all these other fucking video chats would have been dead.
Yep.
Right? Maybe it's like, and there's also, I would encourage, if any company out there is including Apple, you can still make good on this anytime. But Google, Zoom, anybody, right? If your business is video chat, if you made your video chat open and made it so that people using other video chats could join in your video chats, your video chat would become the dominant one that everyone would use, unless someone else was also followed suit and opened up. And there would be some agreed upon protocol, right, and standardization that would benefit everyone, including whoever did this first.
Yep.
Why don't you do it? I don't know. They're stupid.
Capitalismo seems to be the primary.
That's like if Apple did this, it's like Google Hangout dead, Zoom dead. Right?
I mean, Google Hangout thankfully died anyway because.
But I'm just saying, not Hangout, but Google.
Whatever. Remember Google Duo for a hot minute? They were like, "Oh, here's our
Google
second."
Meet is the one that they use now, right? But WebEx, right? It's like if if FaceTime had opened, everyone would just use FaceTime. Android people would have FaceTime app on their Android phones, right? And everything else would have died. But they didn't, and it would have been true if WebEx made itself good and functioning and easy to use and had apps on it, right? It's like. It does work when you eventually get it to work, and they could have killed everyone, but no, they're just a weird business thing instead. Cisco, All
right, I think that's a good show. Let's end the stream.